pesky one. Sheds hit the fan, we're overrun. Send them boys in the trucks with the 50 cals. Tell every swinging neck bring extra rounds. Hang in now, boys, we're on our way. Don't send them all to heaven before we get a taste. Whoa, cry havoc, let's slip them doors away. What you gonna do?
I think we've lost everybody. Hey.
Tell me you're live without telling me you're live. Yep.
I'm saying, it was like, hey.
No, that freeze up issue,
Yeah.
it happened. What's happening, folks out there in Heroes Media Group land? Welcome to the Double S Podcast. We're back, Ep002, suckers. Hey, little thing right off the bat. Had power outage, wiped out my PC. It's sitting on the floor behind me. I'm running on a laptop. If I lock up midway through, Brian's going to keep us rolling. And, I'll just reconnect. And everybody be happy dappy. So, we're seeing how this works here. We're running on Wi-Fi only, not hardlined. It's all kinds of fun. We had a hell of a lightning storm and a lightning strike right behind the house here. So who knows what's going on? Hey man, episode 1's in the book. Episode 2's here. We got an awesome guest here for you guys. It's going to be a treat here. And I see he's ready in the green room there for sure. Couple things. Let's get it out of the way here. First off, let's pay the bills. This podcast brought to you by the Romans Warrior Foundation, True Patriot Outfitters, and the Heroes Media Group. First off, Romans Warrior Foundation, helping is healing, alternative methods to healing all across the nation from coast to coast, from the Global War on Terror's Wall of Remembrance, the Field Ops Division, Hoosiers with Hearts Disaster Relief Team, and of course the Stop 22 Tour, also labeled 22. Come check it out. Go to romanswarriorfoundation.org. Find out how ways that you can help keep the foundation rolling and keep these healing powers rolling around the country here. And, of course, you know the True Patriot Outfitters, TPO. You can go check out Be Cool Like Us, get a cool hat, get a cool shirt at the True Patriot Outfitters /store-2. Go out there, grab yourself some merch from the True Patriot Outfitters. We are basically bringing kayak fishing and camping. We help manage the Field Ops Division. Of course, and then Heroes Media Group. Adam Bird, all the great podcasts, our fellow podcasters out there that are on the Heroes Media Group. Love you guys. We're going to be having those hosts as we get them in contact with them. We're going to be having them as guests in here. We're going to learn about their shows. Bunch of cool shows on the Heroes Media Group, man. Go check it out. And then, of course, the Double S Podcast. Man, what would really help us? Hook us up with a subscribe. Go to YouTube, smash that subscribe button. That's a major bonus for us, okay? We're trying to build this thing from the ground up. We want to see where it's at. Views off of episode 1, Brian, were pretty good. The main episode itself was kind of slow rolling, but man, all the shorts we created, the sound bites that we created from there, from the different topics, man, those caught fire. And
we pissed people.
You know, that we actually did. But the other cool thing is, got attention from another podcaster who now wants to interview me for his podcast. He wants to debate a little bit on some topics because he has a different view to things. And I'm thinking, okay, let's do that. I love it, especially after having lunch with him. He's an intelligent dude, and we had good converse back and forth. Real quick here, here's the disclaimer. Any opinions that you hear on this show represent that of Brian and Gene and our guest. That's it. It does not reflect the opinions of Heroes Media Group, Romans Warrior Foundation, or the True Patriot Outfitters. Matter of fact, our opinions have nothing to do, really, in the most cases, with our organizations. We separate that very, very clearly. We have a straightforward mission. So, if you have a problem or agree with these opinions tonight, know and direct them, and have the common courtesy, if it really offends you, to reach out. We'd love to chat with you about it. Comment, throw it up in the comments here. We'd love to chat there. Brian, I want to go ahead and just punch this 800-pound gorilla that's in the room. I just want to hit this going forward because we're going to have a lot more like it. More is going to happen, and I just want to make sure people understand this. If you are a common sense individual, I don't care if you're liberal or conservative, if you're a common sense individual, liberal and conservative are not bad words. Okay, first off, stop making them bad words. They're not. They're good words. They're just words. But if you're an extreme on either side, left or right, I'm going to call you names. Okay? I'm going to flat out do it. Because me personally, I'm sick and tired of the extremes having the microphones. If you're an extreme on left or right side, shut up, sit down. You've had your chance. You've tried to ruin this country. Now it's time for a moderate voice and common sense to take over. That's just my personal. So if we say something or whatever, please know who we're talking about. If I say a Bible thumper, you know where I'm directing that. leave me out of that discussion. If I say snowflake, you know who I'm directing that at. The people that have that have had the microphone on the extreme sides, left or right. Yes, I have no time for that. So that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, I mean, look, we started the very first episode out with simple things, sticks and stones, right? I mean, let's get back to that. Right? Have a difference of opinion. Let's be grown-ups and let's talk about it. There's needing a safe space to go run and hide because the word that I said or that Gene said or our opinion hurt you. How did our opinion hurt you? Our opinion didn't physically reach out and touch you. Our opinion didn't cause you any mental stress or trauma. I'm sorry, it doesn't. It's words. It's an opinion, okay? So share your opinion with us in a common sense, like adult manner. Bottom line is, if you have a grievance, as Gene said, put it up here. Let's talk about it. Let's chat about it. We can agree not to agree. I mean, we can sit there and have that discussion. You don't have to like what I say. I don't have to like what you say. Hell, Gene doesn't like what I say a lot of times. He wishes he had a censor button, but we're going to talk about it. I mean, let's be real about it. So no, they're not the opinions of anybody other than Gene, myself, and whoever we may have as a guest. I mean, one day we're going to have a stuffed animal, and if that stuffed animal's opinion bothers you,
100%, dog, 100%. And that's the main thing is that it's a podcast here, and I can promise you this too. The one last thing here. If something we say on here, upsets you in some fashion or form, or it makes you laugh, I've always been this way, dude. I've always had this opinion, so nothing's changed. The difference is I said it out loud, or Brian said it out loud. That's all. Always been this way, and don't plan on really changing from there because I'm sound in the fact that I believe in this country and I believe in the men and women that have protected its rights, and that's that. So if something I feel infringes upon that, yeah, I'm going to have an opinion to that.
That's right.
And end of area.
First Amendment, right? Freedom of speech. That goes both ways.
Oh yeah.
That goes top down, left and right. Freedom of speech. You have a right to call me any name you want. I fought for your right for you to call me any name you want. But you know what? I also fought for my ability to voice my opinion and call you any name I want to.
I love it.
Your
I love
clue,
it.
Right?
And we got brother Jason who's tuning into our podcast here. He's probably driving. This is my brother from another mother, part of our Colorado Field Ops team, and just a flat out awesome human being. Jason, he's probably driving truck, and he tuning in here to say good evening to us. So what's happening, Jay? Keep them britches twixt the ditches, dog, and keep rolling down there.
Shannon and I heard something the other day. You keep it between the mustard and the mayonnaise, and you won't find any ketchup.
All right, then. I don't even know how to take that.
I didn't either when I heard it. I'm like, what?
Exactly. All right, well, he's been waiting in the wings long enough here. We've got with us, speaking of members of the Field Ops team, leading up our Missouri division down there, our Missouri Field Ops team. But that's just one thing. This dude's got so many hats. He wears so many hats day in, day out, and it's good because he's losing his hair. So, and now he just told me I'm number one from the green room. Let's go ahead and bring him in here. This is the executive director of Heartland K9s for Vets, and a very good friend of the family's, Mr. Jimmy Burgess. What's happening, brother Jimmy?
Evening.
He got another hat.
I'll put my hat on as a little tribute to Brian here. That's what this is.
I see your Mount Me hat. 1 second.
Cripes.
I knew he was going to do it. I know he was going to put on your real Cowboys hat.
How the heck are you doing, Jimmy?
Doing awesome, man. Doing awesome.
Good.
Put this one back on before he comes out. He's gonna be like, look.
There he comes.
Why did he have a cowboy hat?
I don't know. What? Oh, with the headset just brings it home. Let me tell you.
I love it.
Good night. Eek. Talk about offending. Well, hey, man, thank you so much for cutting into your evening with the family there and stopping by to chat with us. It's been a hot minute, and what better way than to bring on the new show, man, here that's kind of we're cutting teeth and yeah, going a little bit different direction, but it's a perfect showcase for all the work that you stay in. For those people in Heroes Media Group, yeah, look at that farmer's tan.
That's from being on Table Rock the last 4 or 5 days.
That's right. You got a tan there?
It's just from being out in the yard working. I mean, I don't fish.
Oh, I'm froze up.
You are. It's cool. So, Jimmy, tell
You
us.
can still hear me, but the camera stopped, right?
Yeah, we can still hear you. What do you guys got going on over there at Heartland, man?
Dude, Heartland's going absolutely fantastic. We just had a big golf outing this past 2 Fridays ago now, which was awesome. We've got 3 brand new dogs. It's kind of looking like only 2 of the dogs are going to work out for the program, but we're trying to raise money for that. We've got a big, huge baseball game coming up with the Joplin Outlaws next month, which is going to be fantastic. We're working with an organization that's doing a fundraiser for us on Memorial Day. They're actually doing, it's called the MRF. Most of us that are military and veterans know what the MRF is. They're going to be doing that on Memorial Day to raise money for us. So it's just a whole lot of just trying to get the word out there, talk to people about service dogs, and showcase them out at the golf event. We had 9 service teams out there, 9 veterans out there with their dogs, and it was just it's always magical, getting to see them at work and just being out in public. And the fact that more than half of those veterans, all PTSD, severe anxiety issues, had a hard time getting in public before having a service dog. Now having them all together and coming out and laughing and engaging and having conversations with people and telling them about the program is just, it's magical. It was a huge reminder. I mean, I'm reminded every day with Riley, but it's being around all of them is just such a huge reminder of why we do what we do with the helping of the veterans. And this is placing veterans with service dogs might just be my little piece of the pie, and of course there's a lot more to that, working with Romans Warrior Foundation and working with True Patriot Outfitters and Peterson Outdoor Ministries and a lot of the organizations. But Heartland is heart and soul. I've seen how it's I've seen some veterans with some real trauma. We're talking trauma that nobody should have to experience. And, we've all seen and been part of how the VA kind of puts everybody in the same box. And that's never a good thing. And how to treat that, they put it in the same box. And, there's so many tools and people out there that want to help and so many ways to get help, that it's knowing that I'm just a small piece of that. I'm just one of the lighthouses of many on a coast of veterans that do nothing but want to help other veterans and organizations that want to help veterans. It's great to be a part of. It's great to see it work. It's great to see lives changing every single day. So.
Well, what's unique about Heartland? What does Heartland do differently that other K9 service dog organizations may not do? Why? What makes you guys so successful in what you do, and how you pair the service animal to the veteran and you walk them through that? Tell us a little bit about how that comes together and why that's so important and why you guys are so damn good at it.
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing for us is we're not a cookie cutter type service dog type organization. We've got a pretty thorough application process for both the veterans and the dogs. We want to make sure that the veteran has a true need for a service dog. That's first and foremost. So that right there is kind of cutting out that we're not just looking at running people through the system, trying to get them a dog. Because like I said, there's so many different things that might help a veteran. It might not be the dog. They may think it's the dog, but that might not be the case. Second, we've got a very deep interview process for the dogs as well. We don't just let any dog into the program. All the dogs that come through our program are AKC registered. They come from breeders that we tend to know, that we've tended to work with in the past. We test them for hip dysplasia, heart murmurs, all that stuff. So we know we're going to get an able-bodied dog. We're not just saying, hey, we found this dog under the overpass. We're going to try and turn it into a service dog for you.
Right.
Another big thing is we're an organization dedicated to the veteran, that the veteran doesn't pay a cent for the service dog. The average to train and place a service dog is anywhere between $10,000 and $30,000, and we literally don't charge a cent. Everything that we do comes from donations, grants, events that help to pay for all that stuff, because it's not cheap. Another big thing is, we really care about the team that we have in. We're not a, hey, here's your dog and go. We do a lot of training with the veterans as well. So we want the veterans to know what the trainer knows. We want to help with different de-escalation stuff, all that. There's a lot of great service dog organizations out there. I just feel that we're the best because we are small. We're not just looking to mass produce service dogs. We're not just looking to mass produce, say we can help anybody. There's some skill levels that are, just are above our pay grade on some things that we don't provide when it comes to service dog training. But for the most part, we're involved. You come into the program, you get accepted to the program, you're part of Heartland. You become an advocate. You learn how to have that right conversation when you see people that just have dogs out that they say it's a service dog or not. You learn de-escalation skills when you hear Karen behind the desk saying, hey, that you can't have that dog in here. All those little things that really are much more important and bigger than the actual dog itself. Some of these de-escalation skills are some of the reasons why we get so fired up when we're in public, because we don't want to deal with people. So we help one, be a good point of contact if they've got an issue or if they run into something that we can help out with. Two, they know they've got something to fall back on if there is a situation or a circumstance that they need answers to. They know they can contact us. Three, just because you have a service dog doesn't mean it's the end all be all to fix what it is that we're dealing with on the day-to-day. So you also have a good voice that might be able to add something different. We work with a lot of other veteran organizations, and we can guide them in the right path to say, hey, maybe you need some woods time, or you need some water time, or you need, something else. You need a new ramp built at your house because you can't walk up the stairs. All those things we've got resources for, and know people that can help out and do that. And so I think a lot of it is just that recognition that Heartland isn't the only answer. There's some veteran organizations out there that kind of, they keep everything inside. They just work with specific groups and specific people. And, they've got the same donors and they've got the same type of veteran that comes through, which is great, good and all. But, you've got to be able to have that knowledge and skill set to know where to point veterans in the right direction, because if you don't, you might as well just be the VA. If you think your way to do it is the only way. And I think the VA is really starting to wake up and recognize the fact that, hey, they can't do everything. So these outsourcing them to organizations like us that can help these veterans. I think as we get more leadership in place that have that in mind, the better we're going to be, because it's not just about the money.
Well, I think, to a point of that, over the course of, I think and I'm paraphrasing some of this, but over the last three years, something like that, they tripled their spending in these areas to help try to combat, the 22 a day stat. They tripled their spending, but yet the numbers still continued to rise. So it's not how much money you're spending, it's where you're spending it, right? Is what I believe. These organizations like Heartlands, like Romans, like TPO, putting boots on the ground, making contact right in the local communities. This is where, it's cost effective and it's actually getting results, man. This is where we're seeing that. To me, it's how they're spending it is the issue. Yeah. So it's not just necessarily money, it's that support.
Yeah, the VA's always just thrown money at it and all that stuff. And, if anything, we should be that example to the VA that you don't have to have these seven-figure budget numbers for each location to be able to accomplish the mission with veterans, because veterans can really recognize the real McCoy. They can recognize what really works for them. And unfortunately, suicide numbers being where they are and stuff like that. There's just it's unfortunately situational. What might help one veteran isn't going to help another veteran in that same point or position in their life. So having the good deep knowledge of other people that might be able to help or recognize what that veteran's facing is, instrumental to, kind of turning that corner. And I feel like on a lot of things we have, but the VA, and I'm no complete subject matter on the expert on the VA, because there's a lot of people in the VA system that really want to help, that really want to do it. The problem with it is the bureaucracy involved with VA. So when I hear that they're cutting levels of the VA to help expedite things and move things faster, it should be a good thing. The people, like, it sucks. Maybe it's that veteran that worked that, was 25 years as a veteran, has their status as a civilian, doing the same thing, and they're making boku bucks and they get cut. Like, sucks. Sorry that the veteran's out of the job, but maybe, somebody smarter than me seeing that job's irrelevant and it's not helping the right person and it's adding all these extra levels of stuff. So I'm all for it. Anybody that's tried to put in a packet for their disability stuff and has had to go through everything it has to go through, when certain things are the way they are, it can be painful. So, I'm hopeful and optimistic that we can just continue to grow as organizations together, to not try and stomp out each other. Now, we've all seen organizations that are fly by night, they're just trying to make a quick buck, whatever. Cool, we'll call them out. But organizations like, Heartland, we've been around, this is our 10th year. We're obviously where it's at. We've done this 10 years. It's working. It's continuing to grow. We're continuing to learn to evolve and grow as we learn more about service dogs. And I think the more we keep doing that, the more people will listen, and that's all we can hope for and do.
Well, the best thing, a couple things that you said and I really want to key in on, and getting to know you, coming out there in Missouri and having the wall event out there with you, and being at the banquet you guys had, is locking shields. You hit that nail on the head, because when we do work together, we're not a one-stop shop. And you also threw in there the aftercare. It doesn't just stop with the canine. It stops when the veteran says, hey, I've got you, or now let me take what you've taught me and let me help somebody else. Yep. So those two things, that right there makes your organization, it truly sets it apart in my eyes, because you're willing to have that conversation with another organization. You've offered counsel to Gene and myself at different times with what's successful in your organization, what hasn't been successful, and we've done the same back and forth. So by having that and opening that conversation, it leads to helping on a broader scale. Yep. Years ago, I was taught, to be a good leader, you don't have to have all the answers. You have to know or have the ability to pick up the phone and call somebody who may have the answer. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what we're doing when we work together. And the VA topic, I think that's a whole nother show, because it's such a taboo conversation. Recently, within the past 2 months, had a young man, I believe it was in Texas, had a young man go on the steps of the VA after getting prescribed new medication. Walked out to his car, got a weapon, walked to the steps of the VA, had a letter in his hand, popped himself on the steps of the VA because he got prescribed new medication instead of them listening to the issues. So there's still issues with it. We know there's good people in the VA that want to help. We know there are third-party people that help with packages. There's a young lady out of Indiana, as a matter of fact. She's got a 98% success rate for packages, and I don't believe she charges anybody to do it. She does it because she wants to help veterans. So there's a lot of different things going on there that you spoke of that I just had to throw in my 2 cents and key in on, because you hit the nail on the head. We have to work together, because at the end of the day, it's not about you, it's not about me, it's about that veteran brother or sister, that first responder brother or sister that's needing a hand up, not a handout.
Yep. And on top of that, I think once some of these veteran organizations realize how rewarding it is to kind of set that ego to the side, knowing that you can just help veterans, where you're like, hey, our organization's awesome, but I know for a fact there's other organizations out there that can help a specific veteran issue 100 times more than I can. And for me to think that I'm not going to tell other people about that, because it might cut into HK9's donations or whatever. It's just dumb. It's infuriating when I've seen that happen and I see that out there. But I'm just, I think the more we continue to surround ourselves with like-minded individuals that are just like, hey, we're doing cool shit, but what you're doing is really cool, and I want to help out with that too. And it's just such a good feeling.
Dude, I have it right in my backyard. Some of the organization I tried to work with on multiple levels, and one of their founders flat out said to me directly, we don't need any more nonprofits, is what he says. And I'm like, I'm sitting here and I'm just dumbfounded. I'm like, dude, there's like 50,000 vets living in northern Colorado. That's north of the metro area. It's estimated I've heard estimates from 30 to 45,000 vets that live just in the northern Colorado area. And you're telling me your one little outfit there who works with 5 and 6 people a week is got it covered, and they all need exactly just what you have. I can't wrap my head around that, man. It just doesn't work for me.
Right. And I think there's a better way that conversation gets had. So I've had multiple times where people are like, hey, I want to start up a nonprofit. Awesome. What most people don't realize that want to start up a nonprofit, what they don't realize is how really stupid hard it is.
Oh my God.
It's very difficult to get a nonprofit right.
Yep.
And if you could say that without anything vested in it, like, great. If you want to open a nonprofit, awesome. But this is why I'm going to warn you to think maybe, hey, check out one of these other nonprofits that have been around a while that you could help out with first, to really kind of learn it, to be a part of it, and Gene, obviously you've had that with Roma's Water Foundation and been around others. So that makes sense. There's some people that are just like, hey, I woke up today and think I want to start a nonprofit. So they go on Google and they're like, okay, how to start a nonprofit. And they're like, oh, this doesn't seem that bad. And then 6 months down the road, it's like, all these other things that they're dealing with. And there's so much behind the scenes stuff that have to happen, have to go right. And if you think you can go it alone, you're ridiculously dumb. And not you, but I mean, for that, you already have to have, a little bit of knowledge of other organizations that are in the area that are looking to work with you, that can help bring that attention to what it is you're doing. And because it can easily, and I hate to use this word like this, but a nonprofit can be a money pit getting started. It's,
oh my God, yes.
So much of your own money and time and all that stuff, which is great. It's great that when people are invested and they want to do that, and I think that's important, but just recognizing how many doors you have to knock on. Recognizing how many times you have to hear the word no when you see the public library getting a $30,000 grant for new furniture, and you're like, really? You're going to give them new furniture when it costs? I can go down to Lowe's or wherever and just get a couple of chairs for a couple $100, and you're giving them a $30,000 grant to reupholster stuff. Do you know how many dogs that could train and whatever? That's where my mind still tends to go. And that, I think it's also becoming real knowledgeable at grant writing. And even if you become real knowledgeable at grant writing, you're not guaranteed stuff. So there's just so much riches in the nonprofit world.
I've heard from professional grant writers out there. I've heard that basically it's like a 10% yes return. And this is from pros that do this. So they send out 100 of them, or send out 10. They might get one yes. And it's like under 10%. That's just crazy, man.
Yep. And having events, you're expecting the whole city's going to show up because it's such a good and noble cause and it's awesome. And then you get 15 people.
Right. Right.
And it's the same people you saw last week, that you told last week. That's
I don't
really
know anything about that.
Right.
That's challenging. It's challenging when you've got friends that are in certain positions where word can get passed out too. I think that's another thing that we all kind of deal with. Like, you see how much I'm struggling with this. Why wouldn't you share it on Facebook? Why wouldn't you make a little post to this to kind of help it out? And again, we don't expect that. It's not something that, I never hold that against anybody, but it's just kind of where my mind goes, where it's like, if I see, my brothers or my sisters doing something that they need, or representation or whatever, I want to do it. And I love adding the input on that. It's just, it takes time, to stem your story, with starting a nonprofit, it's a challenge.
Isn't that, I'll tell you, one of the hardest things that I have to remind myself of, and this is going to kind of segue towards the topic we'll be talking about later here, but you have to kind of remind yourself that not everybody approaches things the way you do. And your fever or passion for something does not automatically mean that everybody else is going to have that same fever or passion for it. And just because they don't doesn't make them somebody who doesn't like you or doesn't support you. It just means they have a different, look towards that. And I get it. When we start having certain conversations around first responders, veterans, whatever, sometimes it's a little too heavy for people. That goes beyond the 3-second view, right? And so they can't deal with that, so they check out, and they'd rather not. They just want to talk fishing. They just want to, look at a lure. That's what they want to do, and they think, "Oh, that's my solace. I'm good right here. That's just all I want to do." And I get it. That's cool, but I'll tell you, it's totally helped me with simply looking at social media, going, I don't give a fuck anymore about social media. I just don't. When I see people out there buy this, do this, this is what I do. I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Because I stopped expecting social media to do something for me. You know what I mean? It's like, it's there, dude. That's it. I'll use it to communicate. That's pretty much about it. But other than that, it's like, meh. I've seen it all before, unfortunately, in a different form. So, but yeah, you just got to watch people. And dude, what was it? 2 years ago, I put out a call to action. I know my screen's froze, but I know you can still hear me, so I'll keep it going. I put out a call to action. I needed some people to help me out with some referrals and a few things, this and this and this, for our Candid stuff, right? And so I put that out there, and I have, 1,500, followers or whatever. I got exactly one reply from it. That's what I got. And I was like, God, does everybody hate me? Or and then I realized, no, it's just that was too much. That was 12 to 15 seconds, and they've got 3. So, okay, I'm going to disconnect my camera.
Events. I love the live events, having that conversation, and it's like when people show up and they're there and you can actually have that real conversation, and they could see me with Riley, or they could see one of the other team members, with somebody, or we can go to another event and we can be out at like Pearson Outdoor Ministries out at the Lodge of Hope, and seeing that, having those people there, like where you can actually smell it, touch it, and actually engage in it. The problem is social media, it's tough to, people don't really watch the news anymore. People don't really, so there is that group base that does and stuff, but us on the nonprofit side, it's so tough to get that message out, because you have such a small demographic that's all sitting in the same place at the same time, watching what it is you want to say, and have that list for any amount of time. So it's it's the day and age we live in. So all we can control is what we can control, and
but you guys have done a hell of a job though at Heartlands with your board members, your community. You got some active with you, in the role doing what you're doing, the team of people behind you, from your trainers, all across the board. You've assembled, a great team there. And that's, I think, at the heart of the success of you guys, is everybody's aiming for the same destination, but just, taking care of their oar and letting the others take care of their oar, and just keeping that ship moving up that river, man. Yep. And so it's cool to watch that, and cool to see that. I know Ted and you, along with Brian, you guys have all been very instrumental in helping, teach this old dog some new tricks, and help kind of, keep my head in the game here, looking forward.
Yeah, and we just want to keep trying to get that word out, because there's a couple of things that in my life and anybody's life, where if you need a good ego check, or if you need a good reality check, it's have an event and see who actually shows up. And then the other one is fish in a fishing tournament.
right.
If I ever need to get humbled, I might as well just go fish in a fishing tournament, where I'm all hyped up thinking I'm going to do great and have a bad day. And it's just like, man, even after getting live scope, I'm just like, I pre-fished for a couple of days, and I know we're going to that fishing tournament, but it's one of those mental things. You have to mentally prepare yourself. You think it's going to go great, but there's always something that's going to happen. So, I think a lot of success nowadays is being able to, and anytime, and I think forever, but that I've really learned, is being able to take those hits and not take things as personal as we like to. And it's very easy to be very personal in the nonprofit world.
Oh,
It's
isn't
very
it?
because whatever it is that you're involved in for that nonprofit, it really means something to you. It's that thing that you've put your heart and soul and time into. You've seen it really work, and the fact that you've seen it really work when you go out in the public and people are like, "Oh, you got service dogs, cool, great, yeah, maybe we'll be there." Like, dude, you not hear what I said? Like how like you should be there because of this, and the fact that you just get that people, like you said, they've got that 10-second attention span. If it's not something that's blowing up or going wrong, they don't have any interest in it. And other than the true royals, so it's like you almost have to have some of these events where they are so special that they just kind of tug at them, where they're like, oh, okay, maybe I should take a little bit closer look.
Yeah.
And when we speak of like events and stuff, and so we've got the baseball game, the Veteran Appreciation Night with the Joplin Outlaws coming up next month. And during that event, we're doing a graduation for MJ and Paul. Okay. Now,
Oh, wow.
a little backstory on MJ and Paul. So Paul is a Marine, PTSD, anxiety, the works. This guy was definitely through the ringer. Got placed with MJ, who didn't work out with another veteran for one reason or another. And we thought MJ would be a good fit. MJ has changed his life, his family's life. They're an amazing team. They're amazing together. So MJ and Paul were sponsored by an organization, Jack Henry and Associates. Most of us are kind of familiar hearing that name, Jack Henry and Associates. They sponsored the full cost of the dog, the training, all that stuff. And with that, it's called the One of Us campaign. With that, they actually got to name the dog. The veteran already came named, but they got to name MJ. The backstory behind that is they got to all of Jack Henry and Associates had kind of a say on, why should it be this name or could it be this name? And they did kind of a little voting process. So MJ is named after a fallen soldier, a Gold Star mom of Jack Henry and Associates wanted to name the dog after her son. So MJ is now carrying the namesake of one of our fallen veterans. And she's going to be there that night at the ball game to be able to give MJ his medal for graduating.
That's awesome.
She's going to get to tell the story of her son on the baseball field. She's actually flying in. She's not even from around here. She's flying in to be able to see that graduation and put that medal on MJ. And just even speaking about it right now, I'm emotional. Like it's going to be Jack Henry's going to have a ton of their employees there. It's going to be a great night of baseball and fun and all that awesome stuff. But the fact that these people are really going to see the culmination of a service team graduating, named with the dog named after a fallen soldier, given to that dog by a Gold Star mom, is I don't know how you can get more important than that. I don't know how you can get more understanding of how big that is. And it's like when I tell people, hey, we have this baseball game that's supposed to be happening, they'll be like, all right, cool. Yeah, maybe I'll get there that night. Yeah, it might be warm. I don't know if I really want. I don't really care. I'm like, you just, how do you not be like, oh man, I want to get as close as I can to watch this. And it's, I'm really excited for that night. It was, maybe a little plug for the baseball game and that people should come to it.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
But what it means to her, what it means to the Gold Star mom and her family, what it reflects the sacrifice of her son, what it reflects of the team and the hard work that MJ had to do to become a service dog, but Paul, everything he went through and his family has gone through to get to that point to need a service dog, and then putting the time and commitment to also be out there. It's just one of those, magic in a bottle or lightning in a bottle. And the fact that we showcase it in front of as many people as possible is beyond words. And this is almost 2 years in the working between training and finding the right veteran and being able to piece this together to do the graduation. It's just, it shows how much time, effort, dedication, past history of people, all that stuff to come together to be celebrated. And how cool is it that the Joplin Outlaws is like, yes, we want you to do that here. That would be awesome. We want to celebrate veterans and all that stuff. And it's just, I'm so thankful to like organizations like Jack Henry and organizations like the Joplin Outlaws. And then you have Heartland, and then you've got everybody that's involved in this. And it's like, we can find common ground on many things.
Totally.
The fact that if you find those things are not as celebrated as they should be is what's wrong with society in so many places.
Yeah.
Everybody wants something a little bit different, but that should be something where everyone's like, here's my wallet, my life savings, all that stuff. We want to help with the next dog because we've seen these lives be changed. And
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm blessed to be in the position I am, that helped put this team together, and I helped work with Jack Henry, and the fact that I've had such a good. This is our 7th season of hosting Veteran Appreciation Night for the Joplin Outlaws.
Nice.
From the time they went from nonprofit organization, Baseball Mink League, to now being a for-profit organization, the fact that they continue to work with myself and with Heartland K9s for Veterans, butts in the seats to watch good baseball, to bring everybody together on a summer's night.
Is there such a thing?
What was that?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not a baseball guy. There's not enough hitting in it.
Can't be perfect. All right.
No, I feel. Hey, how was the Putts for Paws thing? You guys just had that, a charity scramble on May 9th. How'd that go?
Dude, it was awesome. It was awesome.
Nice.
It was our first year doing it. In total, we raised almost between the sponsors and everything else, and after paying fees and all that, everything we had to buy and get and do all that stuff, we raised almost $10,000.
Hot damn. Good stuff, man.
Just huge. And one golf event, it was sad. I know the general was sad he didn't get to golf. My son Ethan was out there. He was sad because he didn't get to golf. And of course, I didn't get to golf because, the general was like, oh, it'll be fine. We should just play. You don't have to worry about, I'm like, man, you've been to these golf events. But the people that were out there was great. The tough part was the fact that, it was our first season. So we didn't fill up all the spots for golfers and all that stuff. But of the golfers that were out there, they're like, we love this. We want to do it again. So we're putting on another one in September.
Good shit.
And that's going to be part of that week-long event that we have with with some of the local veteran organizations that are going to have a music fest and air show and all this other stuff. And we're still working on details for that. We've got another meeting tomorrow. We're starting to circle that drain a little bit where we're going to really kind of hammer some of this stuff out. But there's also going to be a kayak fishing tournament with Peterson Outdoor Ministries, and so there's like all these moving parts that are coming together to say, to kind of stand together and say, hey, we're all veteran organizations, we're all in this area, but we all care about each other, and we want to support each other, and we want to go to each other's events and be able to talk about what our organizations do in front of their people, same thing, and vice versa, and really kind of have that hybrid mix of people that have the same end goal of helping veterans in mind.
Love it.
Just a little bit different way of doing it. And if we can nail that, like I said, that's going to be almost a week long of different events. Honestly, yes, it's just a lot of work. Again, those things that people don't see, closed doors, and when that curtain's still shut, all of those moving pieces. And I'm so thankful for guys like Ted Donaldson, who's the development director for us. He and I have been friends for a long time, and that guy's dedication and effort and hard work into doing this, and the other organizations like Our Veteran First and Peterson Outdoor Ministries, like all of us, and Spiva, all these organizations were like, yes, what do we got to do? How do we have to do it? Who's going to be doing this? And it's a lot of work, but worth it.
Yeah. Dude, I was saying that, it's like, if you ask somebody, if you didn't have to work another day in your life, if you didn't need it for money, what would you choose to do? And I have no problem telling you. So I was in that situation, and I decided I want to work harder and longer hours now than I ever have in my entire life. Because, 23 years holding a lot of management positions, holding janitor damn near level positions all the way up, I can tell you I was always still able somewhat to kind of unplug, right? Until nonprofit game. Because that personal deal, man, it strikes a chord, and it's 24/7, 365. My brain never really truly turns off. I've always make sure no matter where I go, I got cards on me. I got flyers in the truck. It's like we got to be ready at any given. Shoot, I just made connection with the Thornton Fire Department from King Supers. I was at the grocery store and I noticed they had a truck out in the parking lot. So I took some cards with me and I'm like, if I see them in here, lo and behold, as luck would have it, the guy that I caught looking at olive oil, because I needed some olive oil, was the guy in charge of the peer support group for him. And I'm like, how about that? Type thing. So yeah, it's 24/7.
It really is.
I got a quick question for you guys, and it's going to be a segue into our next segment here, if you don't mind, Jimmy.
Segue.
Brian, Brian, I'm going to start this with you, and then Jimmy, you chime in and give me your thoughts.
Okay.
And it's a kind of a two-parter.
Okay.
About nonprofit world and you. Jimmy, I'm sure you're a little bit different just because you have a more established board and a lot of other identities. But Brian,
yes.
How do you deal with when people think of Brian, it's always the Romans Warrior Foundation? Or do you try to create the separation there that, hey man, the organization is here and I'm here? Because when people see me or anything that I do, they immediately assume that it's TPO.
Mm-hmm.
And in one hand, I don't want that. I want, hey man, the TPO and its mission is all on its own. It's not about Gene, it's about that work. Mm-hmm. But in the same breath, our biggest supporter, she told me in her very same words, I do believe in your mission, but you need to understand something. We're donating to you because I trust you, Gene.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn, okay, you just cut me right down the middle here. It's like, do you want to stay that close to it? Do you not want to stay that close? Brian, I'll start with you, man. How do you deal with that? Like from friend relationships all the way through?
Well, when you invest in something, and when I say invest, it's not a financial commitment, it's an emotional commitment. So you make this emotional tie to whatever project you're working with. Like we all know, for me, it's the Romans Warrior Foundation. It's the Global War on Terror Wall of Remembrance. It's Stop 22 Tour. So having all these different hats, they all funnel under the Romans Warrior Foundation. When I first started this, I would go into a room and I would start a speech on Brian Romans. I am the Romans Warrior Foundation. This is who we are. This is what we do. This is why we do it. As I've matured in nonprofit work, at some instances, yes, there has to be a separation because there are opinions that Brian has and Brian will share that doesn't impact or has any affiliation with the Romans Warrior Foundation. And that's a tightrope that you have to walk sometimes. And unfortunately, in today's society, you have to walk that. Otherwise, it could cripple your organization, everything that your volunteers have worked for to be able to get the organization where it's at. So it's a not as easy question to respond to, but at the same time, it is because you are the organization. You're the face of the organization. You're the face of TPO. You're the face of the Romans Warrior Outdoors Park. You're the face of butts and kayaks for us, but is there a different side to Gene? Yeah. Gene's a human being. Brian's a human being. Brian's going to say things like various 4-letter words and 5-letter words. Most people don't hear. But Brian's always going to be real. The Romans Warrior Foundation is always going to be real. We're not going to beat around the bush. We're not going to give you any fluff. We're not going to sit there and say, it's okay, we can talk about this later. No, we're not doing that. I wasn't raised in that mindset of the Marine Corps. I wasn't raised in that mindset in my personal life. So I'm not going to try to be fake in what I do, but I'm also, to a degree, have to have that separation from what I do. Because let's be honest,
right?
This is going to taboo into our segue into our other topic is sometimes I have to unplug. Sometimes you have to unplug. Jimmy has to unplug, whether we want to or not. We have to do some self-care to be able to take on and put that pack back on and stitch it tight to be able to run to the next mission.
For real. And it's that I don't care if you voted for Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. If you're a veteran or a first responder and you want to go kayak fishing, let's go. I love you. Let's go. I may not agree with you, but I still love you, and we can go fishing, bro, or gal. It's all good. You know what I mean? And so it's like regardless of where my opinions, where that stuff comes in or whatever, you never want to try to segregate out anybody, because that's just silly. Plus, let's be honest, red money and blue money spends the same, dog. It pays for gas in the tank, and it pays for lodging, and it pays for fishing equipment, to get people out. And so whoever wants, if they believe in our mission, then good. They can think that I'm a doofus or pro this, pro that. I don't really care. Think what you want of me, but just know I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm never gonna bullshit you, and we're gonna get this job done, hell or high water. Jimmy, how do you deal with it there, man? I mean, you're not short of opinions when it comes to things, and how do you balance that?
I think the biggest thing is, like with me and Heartland, is the fact that I've got a walking, breathing animal right next to me that usually segues into that conversation, and I love talking about it, to be clear. I love everything about Heartland, and it also, the conversation usually circles around that for that reason.
That's awesome.
And it just because they see that result. Now my unplugging is unfortunately much more minimal than it probably should be. When we talk about where we all need those moments, it's like, example. So I took off after the golf tournament. I said, you know what? I'm leaving on Wednesday. Got the tournament on Saturday. I'm going to camp. I'm not going to deal with any work stuff. None of that. I just need that time to just get away and be on the water, which was successful. However, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I was just getting calls and messages, and even from people I haven't talked to in I don't know how long about stuff, and I was just like, my gosh, man, it's like almost impossible to completely unplug. And but I did. I think recognizing the fact that taking that time on the water and being on the water and just fishing or sitting by the campfire and all that stuff was so needed for me. But in all honesty, it wasn't a complete need. I'm happy in my life. I'm happy with the fact that I've got to be go and getting stuff done, stuff right. And I've got an amazing supportive wife that helps with that as well. Because she's mostly low key. She knows I've got enough things going on where she's not over demanding, anything like that. And I try and do a good job of making sure that, she's in a good mental headspace too. I don't,
that's your support system, man. Yeah.
Try to make sure that she's okay, and when she needs things, that I'm there to answer that too. And it's been good. And I'm one of the lucky ones. I've got my dad right next door. I've got my oldest sons in town. So it's like I've got a great support channel of people that want to, see the success of everything involved, and just my mental health. That they recognize that that's important, and so we do it. I feel like my mental health has been at a pretty decent place, just finding those little moments. Sometimes it's not a full day, but just finding a few minutes to kind of do what it is that I want to do.
Well, and that's perfect you say that, because we're going to roll into this next segment here. We're going to go ahead and get this thing fired up. We're going to get a little downrange, and this isn't. Keep in mind, we'll say it right out the gates. No professionals here, just some dudes with some experience and some time, and that's what we're going to be talking. It's going to be mental health here. So, 1 second, and let's go ahead and break for this segment here. All right, so we're talking mental health. As you guys heard, I mean, it's from the nonprofit side. When you're serving those that serve or have served, it's the lifeguard thing, man. I just did it myself. I didn't tell anybody other than just a couple close friends. I ran over to Nebraska. I jumped in a little tournament over there because I knew some of the guys that were going to be fishing in that one with the sticks. Andy Moore was going to be there. Marty Hughes was going to be there. Brady Stores, and so I know these guys. And I know Nebraska fishing. Nebraska fishing isn't lift and reel. Okay, I don't have to play finesse game over there, and I didn't. And I had a blast. Did I do well in the tournament? No, 18 out of 21. So I ended up. But you know what? I lost a monster of a fish. She had it in her mouth, and her parents walked in the room and just let go of that jig. Just let go of that jig. Pee, out it went. And so I know where that would have put me, but regardless, I caught him fishing with a jig in a Texas rig, man, and I was in weeds, and I had life scope off. I didn't need any of this. All I did was find a weed edge, and I played around in that all around this little pond, and I had an absolute blast. The only thing I wish I would have done was camped out that night, but the wind was blowing like 40 on Friday night, so it was a little rough, but I stayed at a motel, like, because I'm bougie, Super 8, me, spare no expense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went and did that, and then made a point to drive 45 more minutes the opposite direction to go to the awards and chat with those dudes. And I was gone basically right around just a little over 24 hours. So I left Friday around 7 or 8, and I was home by 9 p.m. Saturday night.
That's awesome.
And bro, I had a blast. I loved it. I feel good. That's the kind of thing every now and again. I didn't post it on social media till I got home. It's like, no, I'm not here to collect. Blah. I'm just here to fish, dog.
Yeah.
And it was fun. So that's what we're talking, man. Mental health. What do you do? How do you do it? It's getting by, of course, the stigma. Should you worry about it? You damn right you should. You deserve the right to. So, Brian, take it.
Well, here it is. I mean, live full and in your face about men's mental health, specifically men's mental health. We're not disregarding women's mental health or kids' mental health, but men's mental health. Why? Because check it out. For many, many years, centuries, decades before Gene was walking with Christ the King, it's masculinity, right? Oh, we're too bad. We're men. We got to put it all on our shoulders. We can't talk about it. Why? Because when we talk about it, it causes problems. Then, our significant other may get defensive because they're feeling attacked, or maybe whoever we're talking to may be feeling attacked because of how we approach how we feel. When we sit there and share how we feel, it becomes this mechanism for argumentation. And that's not at all what it is, So yet that stigma, I'm going to read because I don't have all the facts in this noggin, so I'm going to read something. We men worry about judgment from family. Are my friends, is my wife and my kids going to look at me like, hey, I'm a weak little biatch if I sit there and share how I feel? Sit there and I'll tell you straightforward. As I've gotten older, watching movies, specifically war movies or stupid movies that I watched millions of times as an early guy in my 20s or as a teenager, I get emotional with them. I've found it's starting to pull at me in a different headspace and timing to where it used to not. I used to laugh at stuff like this, and now it's like, oh, again, it's hitting hard. Is it because my kids are getting older and I can see them and me, and hopefully we have that kind of a moment that these movies make out? I don't know. It's just hitting different, right? Friends. Are my friends going to think I'm cowardice for trying to go get help? Or are they going to be there to support me? Are they going to judge me? Are they going to sit there and say, Romans he's got all these issues. We don't want to be around him. And that's actually happened. I've had that. I've been ostracized from groups of friends because of going and getting help and asking for help. It's taboo for us to ask for help. Well, it's not taboo in our circle because if you don't give us, if you don't say something to us, we're going to call you on it because we can read your body language. That's what we do. We know how to do it. Are your colleagues, people you work with, how are they going to feel? Hey, Rome's is taking a lot of time off of work. I'm having to carry his workload. What the hell's going on? When it becomes a workplace issue. Bottom line is, men's mental health is so taboo in today's society. And you've got there are certain individuals, I'm not going to call them by name. There are certain individuals, certain groups that'll sit there and tell you, drop your nuts and man up. I'm going to tell you, sure, that may work for some people. I'm one of those people that will tell you, Jimmy knows it and Gene knows it. Hey, what the hell's going on? I'm going to be that guy that's up front and pulling you from it, because certain situations you want kid gloves on it. But when you're not getting through with kid gloves, then you have to have the tough love. And that's where in my opinion, what works for me, I can't say what works for me is that tough love. My wife, Shannon, I'm going to call her out on it, okay? I've found myself more recently in a little bit of a depressed state. Go through last year's wall season. We're traveling all the time. Then the wall season stops. Then you get into the holidays. You're supposed to be doing this planning phase. And I'll be honest with you, I've supposedly been doing a lot of planning to get the wall into different places throughout this year, this coming season. Haven't really been motivated to do it. We've had a lot of different family changes going on. So I really haven't reached out. Gene's tried to get a hold of me, and I've ignored his call a couple times. I've just completely unplugged, right? Because I didn't want to be bothered by anybody. But then you got your strong suit over here, my wife, saying, hey, Bromans, what the hell's the problem? Why are you in a funk? Why are you in a rut? I don't know. I just am. You know, men's mental health, it's strong, it's strategic, it's important. And Jimmy, you hit the nail on the head. You've got your four-legged friend right there to be able to lean on and help. You got your dad next door. You know, we all have our internal support systems that's immediate to us. But why do we not publicize it? Why do we not promote more of us getting together and reaching out just to have like a men's night? Just to get together and, you know, maybe it's something we start here, Gene, Jimmy, is we do a Zoom call, 45-minute, 30-minute Zoom call. You know, a couple of years back, it used to be, you see this thing on Facebook where, hey, reach out and call 2 of your battle buddies that you haven't talked to in 10 years. Reach out to them, just say hi, see how they're doing. No one's socializing any of that anymore. Why? Because in my opinion, not to get political, but they're too worried about what's going on the left and right side of the aisle. We've forgotten the simple thing of reaching out and contacting somebody.
Yeah.
We don't want to sit there and call them. We don't want to hear their voice. Let me send them a text. Let me send them a message. I'm guilty of it. I would rather text you than call you. I think that's scars from recruiting duty, but I hate my phone. But I would rather sit here and see you so I can laugh at your smug face and you can laugh at my smug face on camera. You know, they say lack of awareness. I think we're pretty much aware of some different things that we can do to help our group of guys that we socialize with. But what about the guys that are different from us?
Yeah.
Do we reach out and look out for them? You know, key point, and I'm rambling, but key point. Today was, you know, Shannon went through and she got a registry. She's an EMT. She's been working with the local ambulance service and hospital service for a couple of weeks now.
Yay, Shannon.
Yay.
They did a video for their employees. Today was their employee picnic, and they released a video, a little commercial. And in the commercial is one of the crews that we've gotten to know, and there's a silhouette of a lifeless little boy. And you see the spirit of the little boy get out of the back of the ambulance, and the crew is sitting on the back of the ambulance just kind of in a daze, that 1,000-yard stare. And it brought tears to my eyes. It was like, because the only reason why I say it is because the other day we had a call, and we did our best to be able to try to save a life, and our efforts didn't get the result we wanted. That's the most polite way I can put it without breaking any laws. And it sucks. It sucks when you have those calls.
Yeah.
And these people, they don't have the opportunity. They're just like us when we were in combat. They don't have the opportunity to sit there and dwell on it and talk about it, because as soon as they clean up that bus, the tones go out and they got to go to the next call. They got to get their mind right for the next call.
Yeah.
You know, firefighters, cops, you know, our veteran brothers and sisters. So it may not be tonight, but let's start this dialogue. How do we reach out and touch each other? That sounded so bad.
That sounded so Navy.
How do we reach out, or in what methods have you guys seen that works to be able to reach out and just kind of check on each other? You know, it's the CVMA, Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association. In my opinion, and I'm big fans of them anyway because of what they do across the country with the wall, but they do it pretty damn good. Is they get together. They have churches, they have meetings, they have gatherings, and it's nothing more just to check on each other's well-being and check on each other's family.
Hell yeah.
When I was riding with a law enforcement motorcycle club in North Carolina, it was the same situation. We would just get together because that's where we all wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there you go. That's my 2 cents on men's mental health. We need to do better.
You know, and I want to kind of kick this over to you, Jimmy, to let you kind of give your thoughts on this. The one thing I wanted to piggyback on that is a lot of this, when you talk about, you know, us helping each other, right? When it comes to that men's mental health thing, there's a couple of facets to this. I hate the statement that it's okay to not be okay. All right. I hate that statement. And here's why. No, it's not. The objective is to get okay, right? Is it normal to not be okay? Yeah. Yeah, dude, that's called human. I like that statement better. It's human to not be okay, man. Welcome to life. If you're living and you're trying to move ahead and do something, chances are you're going to get kicked in the pills and something's going to happen, or you're going to start dealing with some stuff. Now, is it okay to stay there? No, let's get you healthy. And I think the second part that I wanted to add is what helps with that is having relationships. I know for a fact that if I have an issue and I'm over here kicking rocks and being a freaking toadstool, I know if I call Brian up, there will be no punches pulled, and I know it's coming from a place of love. So he cannot offend me, no matter what he says, how he tells me. I know where it's coming from. I know my source. I could do the same thing with you, Jimmy. I know you guys well enough that you'll shoot me straight because you give a shit about me. So how do we create those type of relationships? Because like you said, sometimes some folks, we do got to take it a little bit easier. We can't maybe go in there two-fisted guerrilla, approach. But at the same regard, when you have a good relationship, you can say things to each other, like calling them as old, that walked with Jesus or whatever that you just said. You can say those things without offending them or whatever. And so I think there's a lot to do with that, is building that relationship, building that community where you can get that support with each other. So how do you go about it, Jim?
So one of the biggest things in conversations, with these guys and kind of where we are in this mental health stuff and everything, I think what a lot of us have to recognize is there is a difference between complaining because or talking about it because of victimhood, where you like these conversations where you're coming from a point of being a victim and stuff, as compared to just trying to improve your quality of life and mental health. And I think what gets turned off a lot is when people are constantly in this victimhood place of conversation in this. Now, there are times where you're like, why is this happening to me? That's great that you can recognize it, but it's like, what steps are you actually taking to overcome that? And one is, like Brian said, just having these groups and conversations and having that core group of individuals that you can talk to about certain things. I think that's a big one. I know for me, so, I've done so many jobs, so many walks of life, so met so many different people. And, for me, like, people say it's weird to listen to like motivational videos and stuff like that, or things to kind of lift you up out of that. But the one for me, Gene, I sent you a link. If you could put that up, I texted it to you, is this video I watched, and there's a whole group of them. But this one, like, very directly hit me back when, I want to say it was like about my first year of being a firefighter, when I was a firefighter, and I was trying to, recognize that, life is tough. What do I got to do to get over it? And this video that I sent you, it's called Dream, and it's got different like motivational. So it's like a 6-minute thing. All it is just like this little motivational video that I still to this day listen to at different times. And there's different videos that kind of surround that, made by the same guy. But it's got guys like Les Brown, who's a pretty amazing motivational speaker. And where all these people come from, how they put this video together, 6 minutes, and you listen to it, it's like every single one of us has experienced it. Why is this happening to me? I feel like I'm doing all the right things. I'm going to work, I'm paying my bills, I'm paying taxes, I'm good to my wife, I'm trying to take care of my mom, or whatever that situation is, whatever it is that we're facing. And it's like, what do I have to do to get over this? And for some of us, it's getting back into the gym and going and lifting, or, making other little life decisions, or recognizing the fact that, hey, I'm terrible with money. What do I got to do to not spend money a certain way, or not do certain things a certain way that, it's causing a lot of these issues that we all face as men, as people just trying to live and get through and get by, and to somewhat see any type of success in what it is that we're doing. And it's tough right now because stuff's expensive. People are busy doing things. You're putting on events and people aren't showing up. You're going to you got this new idea at your job that you love to bring your job, but you feel like nobody's listening. And it's just, we're all facing that. We're all struggling through little things that you think you're like, what else do I have to do? And I think one is just recognizing that we all face it, that we all are kind of struggling with that, which is why it's so important, like with what Brian said, to reach out to your buddies, to reach out to people you haven't talked to in a while, because there's no way they're not facing it. There's no way there's not something that they're not struggling with or having a hard time or not, being able to just talk about it. And I think this thing, every single one of us, is laid in bed at one time or another, and probably pretty often, and not always together, but we've laid in bed and had these thoughts on,
not always.
Put that in there just to kind of keep it fresh. Thanks. But
I'm an aggressive spoon. It's not safe.
Like I can't even count how many times I've laid there and go, why is this so hard? Why am I struggling with this? Why isn't this working? What am I doing that's not working? Why is it so-and-so is upset with me or not talking to me? Why is it I have to, find that balance between either paying my car payment or getting something that I really want? And then I think, and that's something we all face, and it's that struggle is so real. It's intense for all of us in one place or another. And that reaching out to each other to just have that conversation is way more important than we could even possibly understand. To just get a random phone call from one of my buddies is always such an awesome feeling.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Have you guys ever had this? Because I feel like most of my life this was the case. Now I'm going to be honest. About 7-8 years ago, I haven't dealt with this as much. But if you ever sit there and ask yourself, what seems so fucking easy for other people, why is it always like pulling teeth for me?
Oh yeah.
Why do the simple things in life that other people just happenstance, just trip across, I'm over here, scrapping and swinging and fighting tooth and nail to get the slightest crumb, when it comes to that. I've found myself in there. Now, I will be honest, obviously, since Julie and I reconnected there, I don't find that often anymore. Things are in a different headspace for me. I'm better now in my head, my mind, my body, everything than I ever have been in my entire life. And I know that, so I'm very fortunate, which is why I choose to do what I do, is because it's all right. I'm here now. It's time to see if I can pick some my brothers and sisters up, see if we can do something with them, help them out. Mm-hmm. But I mean, do you guys too had come across that?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I all the time. And the one thing, I actually had a wise man, wiser than I could ever be. He actually sat me down. He said, "Because it's not your time. That's why it's not easy. It's not your time. There's still a lesson you have to learn before you're there." And I try to humble myself, remind myself of that. But let me steal the spotlight for one more second. Let me admit something to you guys and everybody else. All 7 of them.
Knew it.
Don't ask, don't tell, Romans.
That policy went out. No, so check it out. So Gene, you know this, Gene.
Yes, sir.
Jimmy, I think you do. But so Shannon and I have been almost inseparable for about 4 years. Literally been together nearly every day for 4 years, right? And while some people are like, "Oh, that's so great. I wish I could have that with my spouse." And it's great until one of the parts of that equation decides to do something different, right? So like I said, she just went and got her registry. She started working. So we're both struggling, and you can give me all kind of shit later, I promise. But I've been struggling because during the day, she's not here. For 7 days, She's not here 12 hours a day. You want to talk about a puppy dog walking through the house.
Dude, that's real.
Where's my best friend? Where's my best friend? That's what I do. So I literally, 360 is great, but it's terrible. I stalk her on 360.
That's funny.
That's how pitiful I am that we're not. But like when we're together, it's great for like 15 seconds. And then we realize, oh my God, we can't stand you. You're driving me absolutely crazy in a fun loving kind of way, not in a crazy kind of way, you know, but literally I'll stalk her on 360. And when she's back at her home base, I'll be like, hey, can you talk?
It used to be a red flag. You know that, right?
Right. So is this a real book, Brian, on tape?
Yes. So what I shot, Gene, is my therapy for myself, and it drives my kids absolutely crazy when they're here on the weekends or when they're, you know, especially now out of school, because I will go on our TV. We got our surround sound on, and the two things that I will do when I'm in the car by myself, I'll do that book on tape, Gene, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And there's a second book from that, but I'll sit here and I'll put on a hate rage music list from Pandora. And I will blast my music, and it pulls me out of my funk. You know, when it was in my early 20s, you guys might remember this one. It's called Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of my favorite songs because it always pulls me from any kind of rage, hate, emotion, loneliness, depression, anything. It always pulls me up when I hear that song.
See, mine's Five Finger. Just about any one of Five Finger Death Punch songs, man. I love Ivan and the boys. They do a great job to help channel that shit.
Mine's 80s music. I play 80s music, and I get right back to that nostalgia.
Debbie Gibson,
yeah.
Bengals.
Yep.
He's thinking of Whitesnake in the video of the car.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
So let's. I'm going to bring this up here. We're going to share this up. This is that video you were talking about. Let me see if I need to find the screen where it's all.
That's a 6-minute video.
Yeah, I know.
Awesome.
We won't do the full 6 minutes, but I know the guy you're talking about, and he is. That's not the one I want.
Whenever I have people that are reaching out to me and they're asking about certain things, I always send this video. First, I've always gone to just sending this because you listen to it and you're just like, yeah.
So we'll just roll a little bit of this here real quick. One second
awesome.
here. Here we go.
I don't know what that dream is that you have. I don't care how disappointing it might have been as you've been.
Can you guys hear it okay?
That dream.
Yep. Yeah.
That dream that you're holding in your mind, that it's possible. That some of you already know that it's hard. It's not easy. It's hard changing your life. That in the process of working on your dreams, you are going to incur a lot of disappointment, a lot of failure, a lot of pain. There are moments when you're going to doubt yourself and say, God, why is this happening to me? I'm just trying to take care of my children and my mother. I'm not trying to steal or rob from anybody. Why did this have to happen to me? For those of you that have experienced some hardships, don't give up on your dream. Their rough times are going to come, but they have not come to stay. They have come to pass.
Greatness is not this wonderful, esoteric, elusive, God-like feature that only the special among us will ever taste. You know, it's something that truly exists in all of us.
It's very important for you to believe that you are the one. Most people, they raise a family, they earn a living, and then they die. They stop growing, they stop working on themselves, they stop stretching, they stop pushing themselves. That a lot of people like to complain, but they don't want to do anything about their situation. And most people don't work on their dreams. Why? One is because of fear. The fear of failure. What if things don't work out? And the fear of success. What if they do and I can't handle it? These are not risk takers.
You spend so much time with other people. You spend so much time trying to get people to like you. You know other people more than you know yourself. You studied them. You know about them. You want to hang out like them. You want to be just like them. And you know what? You've invested so much time in them, you don't know who you are. I challenge you to spend time by yourself.
It's necessary that you get the losers out of your life if you want to live your dream.
That's powerful right
But people
there.
who are running toward their dreams, life has a special kind of meaning.
When you become the right person, what you do is you start separating yourself from other people. You begin to have a certain uniqueness. As long as you're following other people, as long as you're being a copycat, you will never ever be the best copycat in the world. But you will be the best you could be. I'm telling you to define your value.
That's some powerful stuff right there, man. In a major way. We're going to put the link to that video up here. We'll throw that up here. That's a great series there. You know, the one that really struck for me on that was that get losers out of your life, right? You have to recognize people that are a negative influence, or that all they do is basically try to pull back or discredit or jam on the things that if you don't live the way they think you should live, then you're doing it wrong. You know what? Yes, get that shit out of here. Send them down the road and keep moving on, because there's others out there that'll help support that.
That's right. Keep kicking that can. Hey, if I can, real quick, Jason put something up in here. I think with the recent stuff he has going on, learning to be able to reach out is hard. He learned he has to do it to keep checking with folks. Thank you both for being my friend in recent days. So you guys both know Jason. So he's
Yep.
You guys are shout out, Jason. That's what it's about, man. That's what it's about. You lean on them, they lean on you, and we all lean on each other. Not in that kind of crazy way, but maybe in a yak. You know, you got to lean on each other on the bank. I get it.
You know, it's more when you come to that mental health, when you're talking about a lot of that self-care, self-love stuff. I think one thing, like when I was teaching leadership development and things like that, and stuff I still talk about, is you have to find that ability to forgive yourself for being human. None of us are perfect. And then along with that is forgiving others for being human. None of them are perfect. They're all going to make mistakes. They're not going to say things the right way. Maybe they're not going to say something that makes that much sense to you, but we're all human. And I think there's this huge lack of empathy in this world. And that's something that I've tried to focus on so much, is to learn to be empathetic. There's times where you do have to be able to pull the trigger. And I think both of you guys can understand kind of what I'm talking about regarding that, where, you know, you got to have guts sometimes. Sometimes it means saying those hard conversations and being able to say those things and being able to put yourself out there. And, you know, and there's a lot of work. It's like that video is kind of saying, you know, you constantly have to be working on yourself and striving to be the best version that you can bring to the table that day. And it's not always going to be perfect. You're going to have bad days. You're going to say dumb things. You're going to make a mistake. Yeah. But you just got to keep driving and moving forward. And when you can't, when that struggle feels too much, there's guys like Brian, there's guys like Gene that are there and you make themselves available to help with that. And I know that, like, for me, I know I've got a good core of brothers and sisters that if there was something, I could reach out and any one of them, including you guys, would be here at the drop of a hat. And, you know, and that's what keeps us driving forward. It's like, and if you don't have people like that in your life, then you need to make it a point to find that. You need to make it a point to become one of those people. And that's almost bigger, because, you know, for us,
dude, that's so huge.
There's us in the veteran community that, you know, we say, well, we do it because we like helping other people. Well, in the end, it's helping us too. And when you become that person that is there for other people and want to help other people, it's amazing how much of that stuff comes back, and you don't even recognize how much of it is coming back as well. So that's basically my two.
Dude, one of the key points on that mental health piece and helping people get out of dark places, or helping people that maybe have had some dark thoughts, is mission. Get yourself on a mission. Do something for someone else. That is right at the top of almost all of the things that I have ever, you know, read on this topic, is find a way to give, you know, to work. Create that mission, that purpose. You create value immediately. And what it does for you as a person is huge. You get it tenfold back, dude. When you're helping others out there, it comes back to you in so many ways.
Yeah, everyone you talk to, and it's not just that. Like look at guys like we all have a mutual friend in fishing that we talk to, Trey Dawson. Him, bad place, dark spot. Now he talks about it to other people and what has helped him. And I know that part of the healing process is huge too. And that's on that side of the house, not even necessarily on the veteran side. Same way, first responders, anything. Those of us that actually are out there talking to other people and helping them improve their quality of life does so much for our healing process. And that's why we encourage people to get into nonprofit stuff and work with organizations, because what you get out of that is there's so much healing in helping others heal. There's so much, you recognize that you now have something to bring to the table, in those conversation pieces, and you're learning something every day when you're involved with different organizations that are nonprofit. You're seeing some of those dark corners that you didn't know were there, or that you were there and you can help them get out of that. That's probably been the best part of the mental health. There's always that recognition on the first responder side and everything. You can't help everybody. You're not going to help every situation. Some situations are going to go bad, like Brian was saying earlier with, where it didn't work out on one of the calls. You have to think about those calls that yet we still get back on the truck and we go and do it again. Why? Because people need that. And it's the same way with the veteran community and the same way with nonprofits. Is just because this didn't work doesn't mean we just stop. Doesn't mean we give up on ourselves or we continue to beat ourselves up. We drive through it and get to the next one because we know that next one might work.
Well, and it's that recognition, right? Of hey, I get it. I know that the way I'm doing things may not be the only way, and I know that the way I'm doing things some people may not agree with, which is all cool, man. I can live with that all day long. The biggest part is don't ever question my motivation. If somebody wants to question my motivation or my moral compass when it comes to this stuff or doing the right thing, that's when I basically just, be aware of what you're stepping into if you do that with me, because I had an opportunity here to go, whatever direction. But for me personally, that's my motivation. I know if shit hits the fan, I've had this conversation with my wife. If shit hits the fan, I know exactly what my destination is, where in Alabama that is, and I know the pit stops I'm making along the way and grabbing a caravan and heading that direction. Because hell yeah, trust me, it's going through Missouri. we're coming through and we're gonna roll straight on through Ole Miss. And we can get to the compound, and do exactly what we need to do there. And so when you have that, behind you, it almost is, I don't want to say it's repent. Okay. I'm not there, but for me, I had a realization when I hit 50 that, son of a bitch, I got less in front of me than I do behind me. And you know what? When I leave, when I check out, dog, I don't need, loud music and a bunch of shit going on, but I want to know that these 5, 6 of my brothers standing there that are smiling because they know finally some bitch gets to rest now. Now he can sleep, And so for me, I just want to make a difference out there. You know what I mean? That's my motivation every day, is that I want to help leave this a better place. And if we can connect, like Brian taught me from day one, if we got to do it one at a time, we'll do it one at a time. I'd like to do a lot more than one at a time, but if it's got to be one at a time, that's what we'll do. When it comes to helping people, Romans, son of not this.
I think the big thing to remember too is the fact that we feel that the footprint we leave is way more important than it actually is. In 100 years, all new people,
right?
So I mean, and I just mean that in the fact of being a little bit fearless with being able to express our emotions, being a little bit more fearless with being a little bit softer to people when they need it or deserve it, because in the end, all you can do is the best you can at it, and that I would much rather have that hard conversation than a week later being like, I regretted having that conversation, or I regretted not having that conversation.
Yeah.
I think we've got this weird, crazy thing called ego, And I don't necessarily mean ego in a negative context. I just mean ego in who we are, that that everything's the most important. And most things, they blow over in a couple of days. They blow over in a week. They blow over in 2 weeks after a good conversation and clear heads prevail. It's just setting that ego aside and just trying to make the best of the situation, because we're very lucky as men right now in this day and age that there are so many resources and people and all this stuff available. I mean, 100 years ago, it was like, get your ass back to work. Can't talk about this. Can't do this. Let's do it. Now you look where we're at and how far that's come. I think, and that's good. It's good that we know that there's resources and people and all that stuff, I just couldn't even imagine. Some of those older TV shows or movies and stuff from like the 1800s. I'm like, man, I don't know how.
We were raised on Archie Bunker, dog. We know exactly what it is, that thick skin. And this gets me to a good closing point here, and I just want to hammer this home. If in today's day and age, it's easy, especially if this is where all of your news comes from. First off, stop it. If the phone is the only method you have for gathering information, quit. Do yourself a favor and quit doing that. Either one, get away from it, or two, find other alternatives to actually, because I'll tell you, man, shit's going good. It's not doom and gloom, okay? Anybody who claims that this is, that we're in these dark times, this and that, shut up. There's no possible way you can truly believe that wholeheartedly. And if you do, then I'm telling you, you're being fed the wrong information. We're in a great time right now. Things are starting to go in a good direction on all sides of everything. You look at where things are at, and we're better off now than we ever have been out there. Now, can things get better? You're damn right they can. But it's not doom and gloom. And the rest of it, what's the old cowboy saying? Get up, go out and have yourself a great day, or don't. The choice is up to you. And that's really where it's at. It's you go decide what kind of day you're going to have today, because everybody else is going to do their thing. You still got to do yours. There's an old guy. I don't know who he is. Well, I'm going to find him because we're going to play him on here. He said he goes through this talk about how he'd buy himself a beer because he thinks he's a good dude. I like myself these days. If you don't feel that, then I want you to do two things. What would it take for you to be the kind of guy that you'd like to buy a beer for? And then two, what's it going to take for you to go get that done? Get to the point where you'd buy yourself a beer. Like, look, you don't have to be perfect, dog, but where are you at in that? Would you sit across the bar from yourself and buy yourself a beer? And if not, why not? And how do you fix that? So, It's good times, man.
Agree.
All right, boys. Well, listen, this has been a hell of a good conversation. We damn sure went downrange on this, and there's Jason there. I hope I get a conversation from this gentleman, Jimmy Grindle. He says should contact Hatchets for Heroes. So I told him
Heroes.
Yeah, so I told him to reach out to us, and hit me up here because let's chat. What's this all about? Let's learn about it. Let's get him on here and let's figure it out. I do like me checking some.
Couple that went to AIT together in the Army, and he had some PTSD stuff, so he found therapy through axe throwing, and they formulated this organization, this nonprofit that sends veterans and couples out axe throwing.
Hell yeah, that's a lot of fun.
I was in the axe throwing community for quite a while.
Hang on,
Paul Bunyan, huh? I got you.
Well, I was one of the owners out at Tommy Hawk's Axe House, and I still got a lot of good friends that throw axes competitively, and those guys are all awesome. And they found a lot of healing through just throwing sharp blades at wood, and it's awesome.
So
I had my bullseye
question, huh?
Kill me.
I had a bullseye coin and I lost it. I don't know what the hell I did with it. We went axe throwing and they gave a coin for your first bullseye. So
that was because Jules hit the bullseye. And she
actually did. She hit it. She got the first coin, and then they gave us all coins once we did. And I'm like, it almost feels like a participation coin now. know, what the hell? I threw an axe and I got a quarter. So, all right, boys, listen. Jimmy, thank you so very much, dude, for hanging out and jumping into the deeper side of this. Folks at home, make sure you reach out. If you're tuning into this, listening to this, it's at Heartland K, the number 9S. Go check them out, Facebook, Instagram, check them out there. Heartland K9s for veterans. What they do it awesome. Great stories out there. Awesome organization to partner with. We've got several organizations that in this space that we've worked with in the past, and Jimmy, of course, always is another brother of mine that I consider a very close friend. And so yeah, I've seen firsthand what Heartland does. It's awesome work in the Missouri, Arkansas area. You guys work into Oklahoma and all the surrounding states, don't you?
Yep. Yeah. We can help provide service dogs anywhere in the country.
That's awesome.
If the situation is right and all that. So yeah, we're definitely not limited geographically. Ours is more financially. It's got to be right, and we got to be able to raise funds for the dogs and for the veterans. So that's always our biggest challenge. So I absolutely encourage anybody to go to our website and you can make a donation or find out where you can help, whether it's just donating vests or kennels or anything that could help our cause, our mission of helping veterans.
Awesome, man. We're glad to lock shields with you, brother. That's always good stuff.
Absolutely.
Brian, I think we have done all the damage we can. What do we have here? Yes, Jason Ginger, thank you, man, for tuning in. Always checking us out here. Fellas, for the first time, we went live on the Double S podcast channel on YouTube as well. So, sweet. Yeah, we had to wait since we were a new channel. We had to sit in timeout for a little bit until they realized we're okay. Now, after 1 or 2 episodes, they'll probably go, shit, we shouldn't have done that.
Right.
Turn us back off. Folks at home, make sure to smash that subscribe, the likes, the follows, all that good stuff. That's exactly what will help us here, especially at the Double S and the Heroes Media Group. That's what we're jamming for. Hey, Bri, I only remembered part of your exit. Why don't you hit us with that again?
I don't remember the whole thing.
You don't?
Welcome to we appreciate you taking part in the shit show conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, we love you. We ask you to subscribe, like, double tap it, share with all your friends. And before we get into anything else, love, peace, and hair grease. We're out.